I can see what's happening.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our live stream conversation this afternoon. My name is Steve Knight. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales for Chalice Press, and I'm really excited to be here today with these two amazing people. But before I get to them and introduce them, I want to thank all of you for being here, for RSVPing on the Facebook event, and for tuning in and participating in this live conversation. I'm going to be taking your comments and questions. If you're on YouTube, there should be a comment section there. Go ahead and let us know you're here, and let us know what questions you have for Eric Law and for Jacqui Lewis. And I'll be grabbing those, and I'll be bringing them over here into our conversation as the hour goes along. And look forward to hearing the questions that you all have out there for these two. These are two of the most amazing church practitioners that I can think of alive today. I'm just thrilled to be a fly on the wall, more than a fly on the wall in this conversation. But yeah, here with Eric Law of Kaleidoscope Institute, the author of the new book, Holy Currency Exchange, which we're here to talk about, and Jacqui Lewis, the senior minister of Middle Collegiate Church, the executive director of the Middle Project in New York City. And let's just start with you, Eric. How are you doing? How are things out west? And tell us, give us a brief intro to the new book. It's out today. It's officially available everywhere today.
Well, actually, here it is. It's a hefty book. You know, I've never written a book with 101 chapters. So anyway, so here's the thing. You know, I wrote Holy Currencies. About 3 years ago it came out, and then now most of you who read my book know that I create theories and models, but my model is based on real life experience, so we don't fit life into model. The model fits real life situations. Mm-hmm. And so as an author, when I put out a model, it has been tested for a period of time, and I know it kind of works, right? But there's always a fear that I have missed something, you know. And so over the years since the book came out, I continued to practice using the Holy Currencies cycle of blessing models, which propose that there are 6 blessings, 6 currencies that must flow through a church or a community in order for it to be sustainable, okay, and for churches to be missional, meaning to connect with the world out there, with people, and so on. And so the last 3 years, further practice of this model have produced many stories and a success story of how people have embraced this concept, practiced the tools, and arrive at a state where they are actually missional and sustainable. So that's one of the things behind this book, is to tell those stories. And also there are many more visions, ideas that emerge out of people's exploration of this, and they challenge me on the internet, you know, about this theory. So if you Google Holy Currencies, for example, there will be people doing really interesting things with it, like a study guide or preaching series and so on, and they challenge me to do new things, like how do you apply this to stewardship? So I did. I responded, and out come a bunch of really cool stuff, and I have posted it in my Sustainers blog. And so this is a volume where I throw all of this stuff together, and while I was working on the book, I was writing music and songs. And sure, I throw those in too, because music is an important part of our ministry. Those of you who know that come to my workshop knows I always have music in it. So this is a book that continued the flow of blessings from Holy Currency, the first book that came out.
Yeah.
And so there, I'm going to stop and see what Jacqui, who have reviewed the book, what do you think?
I think it's an amazing. So first of all, Eric, let me just say it's great to see you. And Steve, thank you for inviting me to this conversation. When I read the book, I found myself being reminded, Eric, of the ways that we've overlapped with each other in our work, and I felt like you workshopped some of those ideas here at the Leading Edge Conference at Middle Church. So it was familiar, but also it pushed things, I think, out a bit into new areas. And I want to come back and tell you how it's made me think about stewardship in a new way. I want to come back to that. But I think one of the rich blessings of the book, one of the things that really flows, is just the richness of the stories. You know, this book should be on every pastor's shelf because there are really good anecdotes. There's really good illustrations that we can use instead of Googling something on the internet that may or may not make sense. Here you have these beautiful stories from your life as an itinerant preacher, I'm going to say, who's teaching, right? Because you're teaching and you're listening and you're collecting these wisdoms, both in the virtual world, but also in real life experience with people. And then we get to kind of peek in on your wisdom and use those things for ourselves. So it's great.
Yeah,
It's good.
I think, like Jacqui, you said in your endorsement of the book, you're a huge fan of the mind and heart of Eric Law.
Yeah.
And so are we at Chalice Press, of course. This book, Eric, amazing collection, 101 chapters, like you were saying. Tell us about those chapters. How did all of that come together? Why 101 chapters? Yeah.
Well, a lot of for those of you who subscribe to my blog, The Sustainist, you will recognize fragments of these stories throughout the last 3 years. So in some ways, a collection of the best of the Sustainists. That's number one. And also, I was experimenting with creating gems of the different pieces of this holy currency, cycle blessings. And it's really hard to describe this way of being church, way of approaching community sustainability, because there's so many things that are interconnected. And the best way I could do that was to give reflection of different parts of this. And so over the scanning of all of the, by the time you get to the 50th chapter, you might see a fuller picture of how people have lived this out. And also, we're living in an internet world with social media, and even though it's not Twitter length, it is kind of Facebook-ish, and community can use this, as Jacqui said, as a story illustration for a sermon, as a Sunday school reading this out loud, a chapter out loud, and discuss, how the currencies are flowing in this, how does this connect with church. So it's a multi-purpose book. And it's a book, and because of the music, I just taught a class last week, and I had the book before today, and we use it as a hymnal. So we sang the songs in it, and so that was really cool. And so it's one of those books for today's world. The question we ask as author is, why does this need to be in print? Right? Because you can go to my blog and find these, right? These ideas, but the reason why this needs to be in atom form is that there's something about holding a book and something about flipping back and forth, which you can't do if you can read it on Kindle, okay, and discover things, and then you can mark it and you can go back to it, and so on. And so those are the hard questions for today's authors, And this is one of the experiments that we're doing. And also we're creating a CD with all the music. And so there will be an audio portion to this. As you read this, either you sing it or you can listen to it, and you can listen to it with a group and so on. It's an interactive book.
Yeah. So Eric, can I ask a question, Steve?
Go for it.
I mean, so I'm like one of your biggest fans. I remember the very first time I met you, I think was at Wesley Seminary. You were leaving and I was coming, and I had I am like you, 150% call to the multiracial, multicultural, multi-ethnic, many-gendered congregational life expression. And I remember thinking, I'm meeting my hero. He writes these wonderful books that invite us to think about culture in new ways. So I would say Holy Currency Exchange is a manual, and that's why it's important for it to be in writing. You need to be able to touch a manual. But I'm thinking about people who don't know you as well as I think I do, your work. Why did you call yourself the Sustainist? Would be a question that I would want to ask you if I was a news reporter. And again, 101 chapters, not 90 chapters, not 20 chapters, but 101. So could you talk a little bit about being a Sustainist, and then you talk about the form? Okay?
So the title Sustainist, actually I borrow from another author, and he wrote a book called Sustainism, and in the attempt to change the language of how the new generation or the new movement, the emerging of a new way of seeing and experience in the world, and he's calling that Sustainism. And the people who practice and in this way of being is called Sustainists. Now, his book did okay,
yeah.
And I don't see, and I felt that there was a great need to spread these ideas, and for me, from a theological perspective, and so I just claimed the title. And I think I'm the most active Sustainist, out there. And so the idea of sustain and IST is that I am one who practice and experience and see and empower others to create sustainable ministry, sustainable community. Okay, but in a technologically connected world. And in a way of thinking that in a fast-moving, flowing, dynamic world that we're in, and that's what makes being a Sustainist different from back 50 years ago or 100 years ago. Okay, we are living in a world that is moving so fast, and how do you sustain this movement and exchange? Okay, so. As for 101, originally it was 52, so one a week. It didn't happen, and I have much more to say than 52 pieces. So there you go, And I thought 101 was pretty cute to put in.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
So if people were buying the book, they could read two of these a week and go through. It would take them through the entire year.
That's correct, and if you look at the organization of the book, there are two kind of organization. One is that if you start in January, you read about 2, you actually go through the church years. You will see references to Epiphany and to Lent, to Easter, Pentecost, and Advent, and so on. And then also the movement of the book go from the personal revelation, personal epiphany in the early part of the book to interpersonal, engaging in conversation with another. What does that mean to have real conversation, to speak and listen, to play, and so on. And then it moved into more community issues and concerns, and what the exchanges are, and what other community leaders have done the exchange work to make it flow. And then we moved to global concern. And then it come back in that Advent season back to being alert, back to the practical. And that's when how to create a holy currency mission statement, how to incubate a new ministry once you have an idea, and so on. So the flow, there is an organization to this 101 pieces. So
that's great. And I've seen we've gotten some feedback from folks who are buying the book who are saying we're looking forward to reading through this during Lent, even as sort of a Lenten devotional. Some folks are adapting it and using it that way.
That will be good. That will be appropriate use of the book. Yeah.
So I loved what was said earlier, and I look at both of you, and you're traveling and working with all these different groups, helping to create these missional and sustainable ministries, and just two of the most inspiring practitioners that I can think of. And so this work, like you said, you're a visionary, you're an idea person, but it's also practical. You know, these are tested ideas, and you're talking about sharing stories about what's working out there, what people are doing in ministry that's inspiring, and I'd love to kind of hear some of those stories that are in the book that I guess are maybe some of the sort of top of mind ones that you found, Eric, as you were putting this collection together, were some of the best ones that people can look for in the book.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are some of my favorite stories are in the book, and of course there's some new one. I'm tempted to tell the new ones that's not in the book, but that's the next book. Okay, so so now that San Bernardino is famous for the wrong reason, of course. Back one of the stories in the book is about this program called Life Skills Circle. So what happened was that First Presbyterian Church in San Bernardino inherited $100,000. So they so as I was doing a workshop with them, so they had the currency of money, and they wanted to look for ways to help the students next door, San Bernardino High School. And they discovered that time the truth, that the graduation rate at the school was really low, like 27%. And so we enter into a relationship where they invest part of their money, currency of money, to buy in exchange for gracious leadership that I would provide to empower the church to look for ways to connect with the students next door. So they had this great idea of creating a program called Life Skills Circle, where adults, caring adults from the church would meet with students regularly, providing stability. And their original idea was that wouldn't it be great? We fix up a room with computers. They can come after school, and we will be there for them. And I said, stop. Okay. You need to look at all the other currencies before you launch anything. Okay? Yeah. So they trust me on that. So the first question I asked them was that, what kind of relationship do you have with the school next door? And they said, well, not much. So I said, well, I'll give you 6 months to build real relationship with the school next door. And get to know the principal, the counselor, the students, the faculty, and so on. And then I said, I'll come back and work with you once you have more relationships. So I'm challenging to build the currency of relationship. And 6 months later, I came to a meeting, returned, and sitting in the meeting was the principal of the school and a counselor. So they really have built relationship, and trusting relationship. And then as we explore this program some more, they said that what they discovered was the truth. That the truth was that there is indeed a need, okay, for caring adults to support these kids. But the truth also said that the best time to do it is, you never guess, 8 o'clock Monday morning. And the best place to do it is a classroom, not the church. Okay? The principal said they will not come to your church. They won't trust you, So there, by building relationship, they discover the truth, okay, that they are on the right track, but they need to invest in the currency of place and time has changed. And then the principal said, I am going to handpick the first 12 students so that we know this program is going to be a success, because she really loved this. Okay. Wonderful. So as we get closer to launching this, the congregation member were going crazy. Like, well, what do? We don't know anything about these kids. And so I said, well, what you need is another dose of gracious leadership. So we go through a training program for them and prepare them to facilitate this program that we designed. And so the first day of the program, they brought their breakfast. Food was another thing that they discovered was important. And they went to the classroom, and they were twirling their thumbs, sitting around who's going to show up. And, of course, the students showed up. And what they discovered was that all they need to do is listen. And at the end of the first round, with the first 10 students, they asked, this is towards the summer, they said, do we have to stop meeting in the summer? That's how you know it was a success. And they said, oh no, let's schedule some gathering. And they took the students to a college to visit. No one had ever talked to them about college before. And so the second year, they now have a group of 10th grade and 9th graders, and the church has embraced the program as part of their leadership program the student can engage and get credit for. So that, and then the LA Times, this is not in the book, the LA Times has recently did a video and an article on San Bernardino and calling it a dying city, and that Life Skills Circle, was a light of hope in that community.
Wow.
And the student got to say prayers at the city council meeting. These students' life will never be the same, and the congregation members are completely, amazed what they can accomplish. Right. So here's a case where all the currencies are flowing, but if they have gone ahead and say, let's fix up our room, buy all the equipment, and then let the church school knows that we have this program, they would fail. But by going through the currencies, there's almost a guaranteed success. Okay, and that this program is sustainable and it is missional. Okay? So that's my favorite story.
I love that story, and Eric, it was instructive to me. So I'll tell you my bad story in relationship to your good story. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about, so every 5 years we make a vision plan. We really do deep listening and try to ask ourselves, what is God calling us to? And we listen to the people in the community and the people of the church, to figure out. We have holy conversations to figure out what we're doing. And we've been talking about a freedom school, and really, especially because Middle is so committed to kind of the anti-racist work, how can we get a freedom school to happen at Middle? This is what we were thinking, where the neighborhood kids would come and they would do history and art and video projects and all of that kind of stuff and learn. Have we been able to get this off the ground? No. Okay, why? Because we know the truth, we sense the truth, in the neighborhood. It's been articulated, okay? But we have not, and I say we in the collective, my team has not really been able to break out into the neighborhood to build a relationship with the 4 schools that are right here who could really describe for us, tell us, help us to pick so that kind of thing. So I use your story to sort of rewrite our plan, remap our plan. And I think this is a way the book, we don't all have to bump our heads to have that lesson. So now my new staff, Jim, has a map for going to the school to build a relationship with the principal and the teacher, to listen deeply for how they might make this happen, and to think currency of place and time different. Does it have to be at Middle Church for us to deliver this love? No, It is not. So the currency we have is certainly some financial resources and a kind of vision dream, if you will, to offer this to the kids, but we're not flowing in relationship. It really helped us to correct our trajectory.
Wow.
And in fact, one of the programs that we are putting together is is using Holy Currency, this book, to incubate or re-incubate a ministry. So a ministry that got started and didn't go so well, we can come in and work through the currencies and arrive at a new plan. And if you have an idea, there's a chapter called the Holy Currency Business Plan, Ministry Business Plan, and there are lists of things that you go through. The first question you ask is, what is the wellness and truth that you want to foster through this program?
Yeah.
And I think you can answer that one with that, right? And then the next question is, what is the and that would be your mission actually. Yeah. And then you ask, what is the relationship network that you currently have, and also what is the relationship network that needs to be in place in order for this to go. So it goes through all the currencies, and at the end, we only going through all of that, then you come up with a plan. Okay.
It's an amazing tool. Yeah.
And we have experimented with this. In fact, the San Bernardino project was actually our initial testing out of the incubation process, and it works. And so we have now worked with like 4 churches in Toronto area, and they are now functioning with new ministry that is going really strong, and it keeps growing. So this incubation process is one of the things that the Kaleidoscope Institute might put out as a program that we would offer, local churches and groups of churches to do that.
I think that's a really great business plan. I mean, the Alban Institute is out of business right now. It's true. So there's really not a consultative organization that can help congregations to do that kind of visioning and strategic planning. So this is a good thing to do.
Let me bring in this question. I think this is a good one here from Tim in Oregon on YouTube. Asks if we're using this book within the church with people reading it together, do we need to start with the first book, or can we jump right into Holy Currency Exchange? How would you answer that, Eric?
Okay. All of these materials are designed so that you can enter into this conversation in many different ways. Okay, so if your congregation find Holy Currency Exchange is one to read, and you can ask them to read 2 pages instead of a full chapter of a book, right? Then go for it, and as you work through this, they will ask questions. But I don't know enough about currency of truth, which is one of the hardest ones. And I said, well, go to Holy Currencies and read about it. Right, and that will point to other materials that they can learn more about, and so the wonderful thing about Holy Currency Exchange is that you can inspire people with a song or with a story, and then people will want to know more of how to go about doing this. How does it apply to us? And then Holy Currencies, the first book is my laying out of the full model, and it's even though I'm a writer that writes in a way that is engaging, there is still some dryness in it because I'm describing a model. And I think going back and forth between the 2 books would be the best approach. Right. And also, as I said in Holy Currencies too, that you can read the book in all kinds of sequences. You can read Currency of Time and Place first, and then decided to go from there to money, and then go from there to leadership, and so on. So, in fact, our training program can allow people to enter into the conversation at different places. So, San Bernardino, I told that story, they entered the conversation on money. Okay. The other congregations said, we have this great place, we don't know how to share it with the community, so we start the conversation with currency of place. And then there are stories in both books that will say, let's start with looking at our place. And there are activities that people can do, which is also in both books. And I want to say this really, I'm going to emphasize this, that reading the book is not just reading the book, okay? If you read any of the Eric Law book, you have to do the activity in it. The activities is what help us embody these concepts, and you will get a deeper understanding of how to live in this way. And so there's an exercise, for example, where we ask people to walk the neighborhood. and listen and watch for signs of wellness, signs of unwellness. Okay, and by putting your body out there and look at wellness, and that will drive you to think about the others currencies that you have. So
yeah,
does that answer the question, by the way?
I think so, and as the marketing guy, I just have to say we have the two books bundled together right now at chalicepress.com, cheaper than you can get it on Amazon, so check that out.
Go ahead, marketing guy. That's great.
William Bryant on YouTube says, I say holy currencies is foundational, don't pass it up, so there you go. That's we touched on a little bit, and I want to go back to this, Eric, because I know you're really excited about it, is the music piece of this. And that's something, different and interesting and creative. I don't know how many people knew this about you, the musician in you. So tell us about that piece. How did it come about? What does it look like? Yeah. What are you excited about?
Imagine me 30 years ago, okay? Okay.
Longer hair?
Long hair, curly long hair, and big glasses. And I used to sing at a drop of a hat. I had my guitar with me all the time. And so I was kind of tagged as a stereotype as that crazy, radical priest pastor with a guitar, okay? And so over the years, I kind of shy away from that image, so I began to do a lot of workshop and writing and kind of not talk too much about my music. And then over the last 20 years, the music began to come back in. And now, I'm shameless about singing and inviting people to sing. And I think people enter into this fundamental shift in the way we think about church, which is what holy currency is about. Okay, it's about this ground-shaking shift for us in California, earthquake, which rearrange everything, right? That needs to happen in order for our church leaders and our churches to move from looking inward to outward, move from holding on to what we have out of fear to sharing our resources, flowing it out, sharing our grace, and that fundamental shift does not happen intellectually. You cannot read a book and make that shift. Now, some people can, but most people require many different ways of entering into that process of change. Okay, so some people will read a book and figure this out. Some people will need to put their body on the line to experience something, right? Some people, will need to have discussion, often argument even, discussion in the process of doing that. Some people need to hear stories, right? Some people need to go by doing something, right? And music is one of those things that will enter into folks in a intuitive and creative ways. Okay, for example, I can talk till I'm blue about giving, and giving is good, and that when you give, you get. Give it, and that's what God calls us to do, but if I talk about that, and I also teach you a song that goes, praise God from whom all blessings flow, circling through earth so all may grow, which is in the first chapter, okay, vanquishing fear so all may give, okay, and widening grace so all may live. Now, if I invite you to sing that song with those lyrics, okay, and over and over and over again, somewhere in your brain, you might make the connection in a totally different way through music. Okay?
You should sing it.
Huh?
Huh?
Yes. It doesn't come through so well in this. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can sing it with the old tune.
Yeah.
Praise God from whom all blessings flow, circling through earth so all may grow, vanquishing fear so all may give, widening grace so all may live. Okay.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Okay. Now, so I can talk about shifting paradigms, and but if I teach you a song, which is in the book, a new heart I'll give to you, a new spirit I will put within you, and I'll take out of your flesh the heart of stone, and give you a heart of flesh. Now, if you sing that over and over again, that image, heart of stone replaced with a heart of flesh, is going to be, it will work in the way we move through this. So that's why music is in it, and I just gone through last month in a studio with a fantastic jazz band called Theodicy Jazz Collective, and a classical music group called N2K, with the vibraphone and violin and drums and so on. And we just recorded all the songs in the book, so it's really exciting. Yeah, so I'm really so there are different ways you can listen to the CDs in your car, and play the songs before you gather the folks for reflection and discussion, and that will have that will work its way in the transformation process.
Well, I know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the music piece, Jacqui. But before that, people are asking, when will the CD be available, Eric?
Probably at the rate we're going, we are looking at the mix number 2, okay, and we're designing the cover and all of that. So probably middle to the end of February. You can go to our website at kscopeinstitute.org to pre-order. Just punch in a donation between $20 and $30. I don't know. Just make a donation and say it's for the music, and we'll send you the CD. Okay, so
that's great.
And by the way, Middle Church does fantastic music ministry. Okay,
They do.
I mean that you would go to Middle Church and they would have operas, they would have gospel, they would have a fantastic piece of Bach, music. And have you done jazz yet, Jacqui?
Yes, we have. Yes.
Oh, you need to get our band there. Okay.
Well, yeah, I'd love for you to come. I wanted to ask you to sing because I actually really, I think this is a delightful addition to a book like this.
Mm-hmm.
So it lends itself to retreat settings, It lends itself to, remember that book, Worship for Work? I can't remember who wrote that, but the idea that you would have, your church board meet, and we're going to talk about these 2 chapters, and we're going to sing these songs. I do think that your work, Eric, always, you're a photographer, you're an artist, you're a musician, so you have this kind of multi-sensory way of thinking about these things. Mm-hmm. And because adult learners have such different learning styles, I really think that it's a really beautiful addition to a manual like this, to be able to have music and poetry there, and the sense of art that can capture our hearts. So yeah, I love it. So we're going to steal some of your, we've got a new musician, John Hired. And we have an interim, and her name is Tammy, and she likes to play. So we're doing even more like crazy broad, more Michael Jackson, more Earth, Wind, and Fire, more Eric Law. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was in church Sunday at Memphis, just last Sunday, and I wasn't preaching. I was just there because we were doing a 3-year project with the Episcopal churches there. Yeah. And they go through the full holy currency exploration. Okay. And so on Sunday, the pastor said to the choir, let's sing one of Eric's songs. And they said, yay. So we did the Spirit of God, and it was amazing to watch them kind of you know, the text last Sunday was, the Spirit of God has been given to me, for God has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. And it's make it different when you sing it. And certainly they believe it. You know, it's absolutely amazing to watch that community. But yes, music is a really important part of ministry. And the next book, Steve, will be bigger, and we'll have pictures, okay, and along with sound that goes with it. Okay, I am interested in publishing a book for the 21st century, where we are living with a very well connected, you know, technologically connected generation that are multi-sensory. They're interested in seeing. Instagram is replacing Facebook. Well, Facebook's for old folk like us now. That this is a visual generation. This is an audio generation. And we need to figure out a way to create resources that will connect with that generation. So I have often dying to include photos in this book, but knowing the printing process, it won't come out as you know, in the quality that I would like. So next book, it will be, hopefully we'll have visual as well. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. We're definitely game for doing some creative things with ebooks. Absolutely. Now, talking about Holy Currency Exchange, there's at least a couple other unique things that I would love for you to tell folks about. One of them is the pledge cards idea that's included in the book. And can you, one for each of the currencies, can you kind of describe what that is?
Okay. So when Holy Currencies came out, and someone wrote me and said, you use the word currency, and so we're in the stewardship season. Can you think about ways of using Holy Currency for stewardship? And I said, well, let's think about it, right? And one of the things that we use to help people make the shift is that one of the technique is to connect people with something familiar, and then open it up, and make that shift through the familiar, because it's very scary to embark on something that you don't know anything about. That's so foreign. So I said, okay, the pledge card is a familiar concept to most churches, right? And most of the time we think of money, and some churches will say time, talent, and treasure. Okay, and that's getting really old now. People are rolling their eyes when you do that. Okay. And I said, well, okay, let's use the pledge card as a familiar concept that everybody know what that is. We're being asked to pledge something for the coming year, right? But what if we apply the new cycle of blessing to the familiar pledge card concept so that people can make that gentle shift? Okay, so then I begin to look at what would a pledge card for the currency of relationship look like? What would a pledge card for the currency of truth look like? Right? And I begin to play with that and test it out with local churches, and I got good results. That people are actually able to say, next year I'm going to pledge to get to know 5 people in my church whom I don't know so well. This year I'm going to pay attention to my friends and get to know 3 of them outside my church. And to be clear that we're not talking about evangelism or witnessing to them. We're just being ourselves and make a friend. Right. That's really what relational evangelism is about. We don't go and and if people join the church, so be it. Become a Christian, so be it. If not, that's perfectly fine. You made a friend, right? So certainly, when you put relationship and put it in pledge card, people begin to see, oh, that's part of church. Right. My relationship outside you know, my church environment is part of my offering
Yes. Yeah.
to this church. And suddenly everything changed. And that's what I mean by shifting the way we think. Okay? And you think relationship as a pledge card is hard? Try truth. Okay. This year I'm going to pledge to find out the truth about myself, what I'm called to do. This year I'm going to find out, invest my time to discover the truth about police and community relationship issue in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'm going to report back to the church what I discover. Okay, I'm going to create a truth event for the community to come together and talk about gun violence.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm going to bring people who are supportive and bear guns proudly, and people who are afraid of that, and people who are victims to gun violence together in one room and do a truth event. That's my pledge. That's part of my ministry, my role in church. That changed everything. The next question we ask is, what is the exchange by pledging this? Right? What is, so we always go one more round in the cycle of blessing. So by pledging to do a truth event in our community about gun violence, the exchange is potential wellness and more trusting relationship. Okay, so that our community can move toward wellness, working together. You know, so the pledge card is now becoming a kind of a entry point to holy currency, and we are creating an online course for we're calling it Stewardship 365, and we're looking at using the pledge card as the core concept to create a 6-session online course that people can take. And we will begin with a in-person kind of orientation so that they can understand what currencies are, and that they would practice skills to learn the skills to build inclusive community in a diverse community, and they discuss this locally. And then they check into something like this initially, a live stream online course for 6 sessions, and then they have a graduation in person, where we have an associate to come out and do that. So we're going to roll that out in Pentecost after Easter. And so that's what the pledge card is about, probably more than what you want to hear.
It was beautiful to hear that. That's great.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Jacqui, what are your thoughts on you know, pastoring a local church? What are those kinds of tools? What does that kind of get your brain thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, it's very juicy, you know, as in joyful to think about. So my first thought is those pledge cards that Eric's using are like transitional objects, I would say, as a psychologist. Right? They represent an entry point. They represent also an opportunity for transformation in terms of the way we think and feel about something. And it's very smart, you know, it's very smart to widen the scope about the promises that people of God can make to each other in community about the gifts that they'll bring to the community. Because we are bored with time, talent, and treasure. I mean, we absolutely are. So to be able to think about these currencies, you know, and the double entendre for me is both, you know, we made up money so we could exchange goods for services, and also the current of a river, you know, and I feel like there's something really kind of organic about thinking about journey and river and flow, that we are people of water, and water is such an important symbol. So when I'm thinking about my stewardship campaign this year, which I'm deep in, a stewardship campaign that is 365 days long. Sign me up as one of your experimental guinea pig places. But your book helped me to think, Eric, in that last round of money gathering that we do, sort of Thanksgiving to Christmas, to December 31. It made me think about people pledging connectivity. You know, people pledging bringing someone to worship. People pledging to actually really befriend someone between Christmas and Easter, and people were doing it. Sunday we survived a snowstorm, but the people who came to worship were sitting in the social hall, pledging to be in conversations. Latina gay woman with white straight woman from Great Britain. Nose to nose in the social hall, and so it's transforming what is a difficult conversation in a place that's as economically diverse as Middle. You know that we are. Some of our folks own 2 and 3 houses, and some of the folks really just don't have any money. So if I can be in the river giving something I can really give, and all of that stuff is honored and valuable, there's only upside to that. So it's exciting to me.
And just to tell a news story, there's a church in Delaware that went through, and they got it started in the late summer, and the pastor preached a series of sermons targeting each currencies, and he met with the stewardship group, to work through each currency in the pledge cards. And by the time they got to money, because one of the fundamental shifts that needs to happen is this river, this flowing idea, the exchanges. Money is only a temporary currency of exchange, right? And so by the time they got to money, the pledge increased by $100,000 of a $400,000 annual budget. Just think about the immensity of this, and that they have increased 15% pledging unit, and for the first time they passed a balanced budget that's real.
That's fantastic. That is a great.
And we didn't start with money.
Yeah, right.
What happened was that as they explore all the currency, they discover money is only one of the vehicles for us to get to all of these exchanges of blessings that we already have, that we potentially can have. And when you know the truth of what exchange to what, it makes it really easy to give money.
That's exactly right. You've read Lynn Twist's book, The Soul of Money. It's a really beautiful book, and so I want to say to people who are listening, if you haven't read Lynn Twist's book, do. But if you have read Lynn Twist's book, I think Eric, I think your philosophy, your theology about the value of all of these currencies, I think really resonates with that. And I'm like, let's tag that in there. I would say people could put this book alongside that book and find real interesting, like Lynn teaches a change of mind, and I think your book teaches a change of mind and a how-to that I think is really practical and really earthy and needed.
Along with that, I think Toxic Charity is another book to kind of, again, it tells what not to do or how it's destructive if we think of giving in a way that some of the traditionally give to the dynamic exchange of all kinds of currencies that I talked about. The other piece is a lot of people talk about community organizing as with tools for that, and also asset-based community development, ABCD. And the danger of both of those is that it becomes static. I got to know these people, I'm done. Or we have these assets, I'm done. I'm not saying those are doing that. I'm saying there's a danger of that. And put that next to holy currency and the materials that we have, then you begin to see, you mobilize it, the how-to. That now that we know we have these assets, what is the exchange is the question. And when you got to that question, then people begin to value these assets differently. Does that make sense?
Totally. What's the exchange question is what Saul Alinsky and those guys might say is what's your self-interest. But self-interest has a beginning, middle, and an end in some kind of way. We've accomplished that. We built that park. We got that policeman fired. But the exchange of the flow of blessings feels like it's got a kind of infinite life.
And what we discover when community develop a new ministry using holy currency, and it continues to grow and expand without any more investment of money, usually. So we have a church in Toronto invested $200 for a Saturday morning breakfast ministry.
Hmm.
Okay. And they use Grace Economic, which is one of the concepts I embellish more in Holy Currency Exchange. And in 3 months, they were able to raise money from the breakfast, which is, you know, if you don't have money, you eat free and volunteer to work. If you have money, you pay. You have more money, we'll take it, you know, kind of thing, right? And they raised enough money to send 3 youth on mission. Yeah. And then in a year, they were able to have enough money to incubate a second ministry, which is a Thursday lunch plus a concert. And now they're talking about building a relationship with the local music school, students, and so on. Absolutely amazing over a 1-year period. You know, in the book, I talk about the Finley Street Cafe, the restaurant ministry, again, pay what you can kind of ministry. Yeah. And in 3 months, no, in actually 2 weeks, it was self-sustaining. And in a year, they were yoking, it was bringing in $30,000 a year, which went to yoking a new ministry, teaching the poor and the homeless to start catering business. Okay, oh. And Holy Currency keep giving and giving, but without any more, you know, in terms of money, it actually grew from that, and people come out of it more energized as opposed to more, you know, depleted in energy and spirit.
That's what I mean by on everyone's shelf. Mm-hmm. I mean, like what you just did, those 3 stories you told, which you're a great storyteller, but we know people learn from stories, the power of stories. Howard Gardner says leaders tell compelling stories that change the current story. Mm-hmm. So for clergy who are thinking about strategic planning, who are thinking about visioning, who are thinking about starting new ministries, who are in stewardship campaigns, or who are just trying to raise leaders, to have at the ready these wonderful success stories, Eric, is just, that is worth the book itself.
Mm-hmm. And what some of the activity in the books help people to tell the truth about their own stories. Yes. Okay. Right. In the past up to the present, and then the opportunity to tell your story in the future in a dynamic, gracious way. Yeah. And that's what the shift happened, is that it honor your story, but it continues. And it actually, some of the activity we do help you discover multiple possibility of where you can go. Right. And then what is the exchange of what we got now to the next exchange, into the next exchange. And that's why the title, when we arrive at the title Holy Currency Exchange, I was jumping up and down and saying, yes, that's it. You know, that's what we're about. And the language of exchange is key to the way we see our resources today.
Yeah, awesome.
And to be a sustainist.
Yes, awesome.
Wow, this these live stream conversations, they never cease to amaze me. We get to this point and it's like, oh my gosh.
We're almost done.
And so much great stuff. I am just so grateful to both of you for taking the hour. Everybody out there who's been watching and sharing comments and questions on YouTube. Jacqui, how can folks follow you and all the amazing stuff that you're doing?
Thank you for that, Steve. I'm at Rev Jacqui Lewis if you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook. Middlechurch.org is our website, and we have amazing resources, including a conference coming this April that people can log on and register for.
Absolutely. And Eric, folks are asking how can they contact you? They want to bring you in to speak and consult. What's the best way for them to do that?
Go to our website, kscopeinstitute.org, KSCOPE institute.org. That will show you all the training program that we're currently providing for this coming year. You can register for those. And there are information about how to contact me. And to continue, like the continue of Holy Currency Exchange is in the Sustainers. So the easiest thing to do is to Google the Sustainers, and then the first one that come up is me. And you can subscribe. And also, every time I post on Sustainers, it will be posted in my Facebook page. So you can also friend me on Facebook, which is I'm easy to find, and then you'll be connected that way.
That's great, and I think there's probably a calendar. You're all over the place all the time, speaking across the country. So
Google Jacqui J. Lewis, and you can Google Eric Law, and you'll find out where we're hanging out. Right?
That's right. Fantastic. Thank you again, both of you. This has been so fun. This video will be archived. People can watch it, share the link, and definitely go out, buy the book, Holy Currency Exchange by Eric Law. It's available now everywhere. So thanks again, everybody.
Congratulations, Eric. Good
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.